Hey, welcome to Beyond the Oak Woodworking. My name is Jordan, and today I'm going to show you how I built this outdoor bench. Now this bench you can knock out in over a weekend, even if you're new to woodworking. Now I'll walk you through every step, from cutting to assembling the frame, to adding the seat slats, and to protect it from the outdoor elements with a nice weatherproof finish. Now if you want to build this exact bench, I've left a link for the build plans in the video description. Let's get started. All the boards I'll be using for this project are Southern Yellow Pine, starting with 3 2x6x8s, 1 2x4x8, and 1 2x3x8. So to begin this project, I'll start by cutting down all of these boards following the cut list in the build plans, using my circular saw and a speed square. If you don't have a circular saw, then you can easily get away with using a jigsaw or an old-fashioned handsaw. Either way, any of these saws will do the job. And as I mentioned, there is a link for the build plans in the video description of all of the measurements that I'm cutting right now. Okay, so now that I have all those boards cut to size, I need to build 2 leg frame assemblies. So I will take 2 legs, a top stretcher, and a bottom stretcher and fasten those together. And to fasten those, I have 2 options. I can do option A, which is drill deck screws from the outside in, or I can hide those screws and drill pocket holes in the bottom of the top stretcher. And I can do that by using my Kreg pocket hole jig. And I'm probably going to go with this method because it's a cleaner look, and I will show you how to use this right now. The first thing I need to do is set the collar to the correct length on the drill bit by referencing off the end of the spiral and not the end of the tip. The jig itself has a depth collar gauge to make this easy. I simply place the bit in the gauge and set the collar for what Kreg recommends, which depends on the material thickness. In this case, 2.5 inches. The drill guide also needs to be set depending on the material thickness. Since a 2x4 is actually 1.5 inches thick, I'll set it at 1.5 inches. After that, I adjusted the toggle clamp, which will keep the boards from moving while I'm drilling the pocket holes. Now I was ready to drill out all the pocket holes. If you are interested in purchasing this pocket hole jig, I have left a link in the video description of all the tools and supplies I'm using in this video. When you have a long board like this cross support, it's easier to lay the board flat and clamp the jig vertical. Okay, so now that everything's ready for assembly, the last thing I need to do is sand down all the surfaces of each individual piece. And right now is a great time to do that instead of when it's fully built, because you don't have to worry about the sander trying to fit into all the nooks and crannies of the bench when it's built. So I'm going to begin doing that now. Now I like to work through my sandpaper grits starting at 80, then moving to 120 and finishing at 150. To begin assembling the bench together, I needed to start with the leg frame assemblies. So I grabbed a leg and then applied glue to the end of the top stretcher and placed it against the leg. I then added the pocket hole screws and fastened them into place. Next, I basically repeated those same steps for the other leg, but as you can see here, the space between the 2 legs is too narrow for my drill to fit into. So I had to use a right angle drill adapter to be able to fasten down these screws. For the bottom stretcher, I applied a bead of glue to each end, and notice I placed the pocket holes face down and also rested the piece on the workbench top. I then applied a clamp to hold it into place and flipped it over, exposing the pocket holes. I followed that by fastening the stretcher down with 4 screws. Moving on to the cross support, I laid the leg frame assembly on its side and then applied glue to the end of the cross support and centered it on the bottom stretcher. I then inserted the pocket hole screws and fastened them down with my drill. To attach the other leg frame assembly, I repeated the same steps as before, and to make things a little easier, I placed a clamp on the cross support to keep it in position while I fastened the screws. Now you may have been saying, man, those screw holes look awful. And I agree, they do. But the good thing is, Kreg also makes wood plugs that fit perfectly into these holes. Just apply a little bit of glue and slide them into place. It's really that easy. Now that the base is finished, I can start laying out the seat slats. And when doing this, you want to put the nice side face down. You also want to space these about 1/8 of an inch, and an easy way to do that is to use the same screws that you'll be using to attach the base to the slats. Just lay a few of these in between each board. So with the seat slats nice side face down, I laid the base upside down on top. I then went around the edges and matched all the sides with the same overhang. How about a random thumbs up? After that, I fastened the base to the slats with each slat getting 2 screws on each end. And before you know it, the bench is assembled. Now since this bench is going to live outside, I need to protect it from the elements, and I have a few options when it comes to outdoor finishes: paint, deck stain, and a clear coat. For this project, I'm going to go with a transparent deck stain to keep that natural wood look while also still sealing it up properly. Now it's time to get everything set up for staining. I'm using a handheld sprayer for this, and it makes applying the stain quicker and gives it a nice even coat. And to make things easier, I'm using a disposable cup liner inside the sprayer. It just drops into the container, and when I'm done, I can toss it, no cleanup needed. After shaking up the deck stain, I simply pour it into the container and then fasten the container to the sprayer. To keep this mess under control and avoid overspray, I'm setting up this pop-up spray booth I found on Amazon. It gives me a clean, controlled space to work in, and it's especially helpful when spraying indoors so the stain stays contained and off everything else in the shop. These booths fold up like camping tents and only take a minute or two to pop open. I like using one whenever I'm staining or sealing because it helps direct the spray and keeps the finish even. Once I had it fully set up, I placed the bench inside, grabbed my paint sprayer, and began applying the finish. While spraying, I use long, even passes and keep the sprayer about 6 to 8 inches away from the material. The goal is to get a nice light coat without letting the stain puddle or run. I'm starting with the underside and working my way up to make sure every part of the bench is sealed and protected. And that's it. The bench is all done and ready for the outdoors. If you want to build this exact bench, I left a link for the build plans in the video description. They include all the measurements, the cut list, and step-by-step instructions. Let me know in the comments what kind of project you'd like to see next, and if you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like and consider subscribing so you don't miss the next one. Hey, I hope this build gives you a little bit of confidence to where you can build one for yourself. And the Bible verse for this video will be Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 and 29. And Jesus says here, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." Thanks again for watching.